Hello guys, welcome back to Riden Academia. Now in our last video, we looked at addition and subtraction of variables, right? So in this particular video, we're going to be looking at multiplication of variables, okay? How is multiplication done? Now I believe this is what most people are used to, okay? Most people are used to multiplication of variables, okay? So that was the reason why we needed to do a separate video for addition before we bring in the video for multiplication so that we can understand that there are two different things. Okay, now when you are having multiplication of a variable, the rules that apply is different from that of the addition and subtraction of a variable. Okay, now these are two different variables. It is possible to multiply variables even if they are having unlike terms. Like I said, you cannot add or subtract variables that are unlike, right? Now in this case, you can be able to multiply variables even though they are unlike. You can be able to multiply them. Okay, so when we are multiplying, what we do is, if they are signs, okay, let me even start with the sign. I want to have my sign. Okay, there are rules for multiplication. We are multiplying. The multiplication starts with the sign. Okay, start with the sign, then the numbers, and then the variables itself. So we have to look at the sign. So there is a rule that applies for sign multiplication. Okay, let me do 2 by 2 sign. Where we have plus multiplied by plus, we have plus. Okay, that is two, like for two signs. Okay, so when you have plus multiplied by plus, you have plus. When you have minus multiplied by plus, you have minus. When you have plus multiplied by minus, right, it's still the same thing as this, so it's still minus, right? And then when you have minus multiplied by minus, then you have plus. So in other words, once you have two signs, okay, and the two signs are same, you have plus. The two signs are same, minus minus, right? The two signs are same, you have plus. Now once the two signs are different, then you have minus. So in multiplication, we start with the sign. Okay, you have to look at the sign first. So in this case, we have minus times plus. The two signs are different, so we have minus. Then you have the number times the number. Okay, number multiply the number, which is 3 times 4, to give us 12, right? Like I said, it's possible to multiply variables even where they are unlike, right? You can be able to bring them together. Okay, that the idea of multiplication, you're able to bring together. So now this is an x here. So x multiply by 1, okay, because there's no other x on this other space. So the only x we have is just this x. X multiplied by 1, we have x. And then we're left with a y. There's no other y in this very first space. So y multiplied by 1, we still have our y, right? So it is possible to multiply where we have two different variables involved. Okay, and if where we have, even if let's say it is the same variable, we are multiplying by minus 4x as well. Okay, so then we'll still have to do the sign first. The sign must come first, right? Minus times minus, we have plus. 3 times 4, we have 12, right? And then x times x. Now there are two x's, right? X times x. There's an x here, another x is here. Then we have our x square. All right, in the case of multiplication, you can be able to multiply, like I said, even when the variables are different. But you have to remember that your multiplication starts with the sign. Now let us look at something that involves expanding bracket. Okay, let's look at something that involves expanding bracket. Now we have a bracket. We have minus 3x so let's do this, and maybe let's bring another variable in front of it. We have 5x squared, right? 5x squared. Let's say want to simplify or want to expand the bracket. Okay, now the first thing we need to start with, we need to consider our board mass. Okay, so the bracket comes first. You don't subtract before you multiply. When it involves bracket, our priority goes to the bracket. Okay, so the bracket comes first. So this is not the priority, so we can just bring it down, 5x squared, and then we can expand the bracket. Now the next thing to the bracket, right, is this whole number minus 3x. So it means we need to use minus 3x to expand the bracket. Okay, we need to use minus 3x to expand the bracket, right? So we're going to be multiplying everything in the entire bracket by minus 3x. Okay, we are seeing the board. So we're going to be multiplying everything in the entire bracket by minus 3x. So in multiplying, we have to start with, like I said, we start with the sign. So the sign here is minus. The sign here, which is invincible, is plus. Okay, when you don't have any sign, because the sign ought to come before the number. Okay, so in the case where you don't have any sign before the number, then we can say that the sign is an invincible plus. Okay, I want to include a minus, so that we can be able to do more work. So we have minus times plus. The first sign here is plus because it's an invincible sign. Since there's no sign in front, we assume it is plus, right? So minus times plus will give us minus. 3 times 2, we have 6. Now x is outside, we have another x inside. So x multiplied by x, we have x squared, right? But that's not all. We are expanding, or we are multiplying every item in the bracket by this one outside. Okay, so we have minus 3 will also still multiply the second one as well as the third one. Okay, now going to the second one, we have minus times minus to give us plus. 3 times 4, we have 12, and then x times x, we have x squared, and there's a y, but there's no y here, right? So we are just left with only y. All right, and then for the third item in the bracket, we start again from the sign minus times plus. Okay, the sign for the third person now is plus. Minus times plus gives us minus. 3 times 5, we have 15, and then x, there's no x here, so we are bringing down x, and then y, but there's no y here, so we are bringing out our y. All right, now we have expanded this bracket. The next thing we need to do is to see if we can be able to see, now we have come to the stage that involves addition and subtraction. So we need to apply the rule back, the rule that goes for addition and subtraction. You don't just add anything. When you want to add, you need to check if they are like terms or not. Okay, now so let us examine. We have x squared here, x squared here. So this one is possible because they are like terms, right? Now this is x squared y. It is not x squared. So we cannot add this because the terms now are different. Now this is xy, xy and x square y. So the x here is carrying a square, the x here is not carrying a square. So this means these two are different. Once you can find, even if it's a slight difference in the variable, they are no longer like terms. Okay, once you can find, even if it's a little difference in the variable, then they are no longer like terms. So it means the only thing that we can add here or subtract is just these first two variables. Okay, because they are the ones that are like them. X squared is possible to add. Now we can now add the numbers. So 5 minus 6, like I said, when you have confirmed that you have like terms, then you can now be able to add the numbers or subtract the numbers. Okay, so 5 minus 6, we are going to be left with minus 1 x squared. Okay, this is not possible because they are not like terms again. So we are going to just be bringing down 12 x squared y minus 15 xy. Okay, because like I said, they are not like terms, so you can see they are different terms. X squared is here, x squared y, this person is not having a y, this person is having a y. Now this person is not even having a square. Okay, and then there's still a y, so the difference is clear, right? So in other words, this is where we're going to be leaving our answer. And like we know, since this is minus 1 x squared, we can as well as make that one invincible, and we have minus x squared plus 12x squared y minus 15xy. And then some people may even like to arrange, maybe using the positive to come first, right? We can be able to arrange maybe the positive to come first, and then we can have 12x squared y, all right, and then minus x squared. Okay, I'm not changing the signs because we did not cross over any equal to. Okay, so I'm not changing the sign because we are not moving over there's no equal to here, we're just rearranging, so it is on the same side, so there's no need to change the signs. Okay, so we have plus, okay, the plus became invincible, plus x squared y, and then minus x squared and minus 15xy. So I hope with this video you'll be able to understand how to add and subtract variables, as well as how to multiply. Okay, so don't forget to like this video if it was helpful to you. Comment your view, your thoughts with on the comment section. Okay, share this video with as many as you can, and then subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Okay, we'll see you in our next class. Thank you.